So it's time to get started. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Commercial Multifamily Masterminds. All right, we are a member of the GOB network of apartment investors. So I am the host, Daryl Murphy, and the co-host, Alicia Milton. And the GOB mission, what is the mission of the GOB? So the mission of the GOB is to, as it states here, is to democratize the commercial real estate via mentoring and deal making. What does all of that mean? Let's put it in layman terms. The GOB network is about education. It's about providing the education. It's about providing the network. It's about providing you support. It's about providing you the opportunity. That's what it's about. And through all of that, okay, we provide the resources, we provide the support that can help you get that deal, or I hate to say deal, but to help you get that investment across the finish line. Now, what is the mastermind's mission? Our mission here is to, one, get rid of that competitive mindset. All right. We want to work together here as one, okay, to get rid of that competitive mindset. So here you're going to get the network. You're going to get, first and foremost, the education. That's number one. You're going to get the education. Then you're going to get the network. Then you're going to get support. Then you're going to get the and everything else that's going to come with it, right? So it is here where you're going to have your investors. You're going to have your so the extended support group. You're going to have all of that to help you get across the finish line. Now, our philosophy here is underwrite. We focus on underwrite because underwrite is important, and to me, it's the most important. Okay, it is the most important. Okay, so hold on one second. I think I lost my. There it is. Okay, so the mastermind principle. The mastermind principle to coordinate the knowledge and effort of two or more people who work toward a definite purpose and the spirit of harmony. If you know about Think and Grow Rich, in that book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill speaks about the mastermind principle. And that's what we are built on here. Now, Disruptive Thinking by T.D. Jakes. A team is composed of like-minded people with different skill sets, but equal commitment toward a measurable outcome. So when you say, when we speak about a team is composed of like-minded people, we have different skill sets. You need your banker, or that's your mortgage person. You're going to need cost segregation. You're going to need the attorney. You're going to need the GPs. You're going to need the LPs. You're going to need the KPs, the chief principal people, and you're going to need all of that. That is composed of like-minded people, but we all have different skill sets. Okay. So again, I want to welcome you all to the Commercial Multifamily Mastermind, and we are a member of the GOB network of apartment investors. Okay, so hold on a minute. Let me just minimize that. Okay, so The GOB network, I would like to introduce at this time the founder, the creator of the GOB network, and his name, hold on a minute, let me share my screen. Is Mr. Jim Biggs. Take it away, Jim.
Hello, this is Jim Biggs, founder of the GOB Network. I think most everyone knows that we started the network as a member-driven platform to help more people get deals done. Whether you're a new investor that has no clue how to get started, or you're a seasoned investor and you're just looking for more net worth, liquidity, or other pieces that might be missing from your team. As an example, we recently sponsored a 134-unit deal in Houston, Texas, an 88-unit deal in Tulsa, a 34-unit deal in DFW, a 28-unit deal in Baton Rouge, a 24-unit deal in Dayton, Texas, along with 42 units of self-storage. All of this was with members of the GOB network, and we have many more LOIs, many in negotiations and under contract. These are just a few examples of deals. They came to us and we helped them sponsor that deal. So I just want to use that as an example of what we're trying to do to help everyone that's on the platform. And it's available to anyone. If you're interested, just go visit thegobnetwork.com. Also, I want to say how proud we are of the many faces of the GOB network and the many places that are represented. Thank you for being part of that by being here today. So let me close by saying to you, get on board, because the GOB network can do the same thing for you. Oh, and one more thing. Let me say we are especially proud of Daryl Murphy and his mastermind group, and to have them as part of the GOB network. Daryl is one of the founding members and sits on the board of advisors for the GOB network. Thank you very much to my friend, Daryl Murphy.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. So, as I mentioned earlier, the GOB network provides network support opportunity, right? So, so by doing that, we have extended members. They're, I call them family members. Okay. So so today, from left to right, we're going to introduce. We're going to let me get my words together, everyone. I want to introduce one of our family members who helps with cost segregation, and that is Mr. Mark Gross. Mark, introduce yourself.
Sure. Good morning. Good morning, Daryl. Good morning, everybody. With CSSI, Cost Segregation Services, what we do is help you reduce or eliminate your federal tax liability with our accelerated depreciation studies. I put my information in the chat. Also, as I indicated earlier to Daryl, I'll be in the Javits Center, New York. I put the website there for the New York Build Conference in case you want to attend that. It's free. And if you're there, let me know and maybe we can meet up. Thanks, Daryl.
All right. Thank you. Let me see. I don't see anyone else. Okay. And that's it. I think that's it. Hopefully I'm not missing someone. So, at this time, let me just take y'all through a few things. All right. Commercial Multifamily Mastermind. We are on Facebook. Please come on over and join our page. Have conversations with us. We post a lot of information about what's going on in the market and stuff like that. So we also on Wednesdays we do go live, and the capital raise strategy session. You're not going to want to miss this week. We have an excellent guest speaker. So tomorrow. So, but we also go live, and if you want to join the GOB Network Facebook page, feel free to come over to GOB Network and join their page. If you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to do so. And in the message box, please put down where you saw me or how we know each other, where we met. This this way I will I'll go ahead and approve the connection. All right. Also, please, I'm asking you all to please join subscribe to the Commercial Multifamily Masterminds YouTube page, because we do release, and I'm getting better at it, everyone. We are releasing the videos, and I'm starting to get them out there. If not that same day, at least by that next day, I'm starting to get the videos out and everything. So as you can see here, last week we had David Topin during the capital raise strategy session. We had Brad Blazer. So I'm starting to get the videos out on time and everything. Okay. And then if you would like to become a GOB member, please come on over to gobnetwork.com and click on, if you want to be a sponsor, you can be a sponsor. You want to be a member, be a member. All right. But if you happen to want, if whichever one you want to be, let me just tell you right here, only thing you got to put your information in, your name and your personal email. They don't want no fake email, no job email. They want your personal email and your phone number. And here they want the email of the person who referred you, not your email, but the email of the person who referred you. That's what they want. All right. Okay. And then after that, you know, you'll be approved and become a member of the GOB. And guess what? It's free, totally free. Right. So, as you all know, the commercial multifamily masterminds, we have our platform is really focusing deeply and heavily on education. But I believe that one of the most important things beside capital raising, I think, as a matter of fact, I think this particular thing is way more important than is way more important than capital raising, because if you don't have if you don't have um if you don't have the knowledge of this particular thing, you're either going to overpay or or you're not going to get the deal. It's going to be one or the other, right? So, so what I would like to do at this time, we have a guest speaker, and I've known this individual for, I'm gonna say, for a while. I think I could say that safely. Um, I've known you for a while, right, George?
Oh, absolutely. It's been good to know you, Daryl. I think we met, was it a couple of years back in person at the GOB Network conference?
Exactly. So I've known George for a while, and and George is an underwriter. He knows the underwriting. He's been doing it for a long time. So what I would like to do now, George, introduce yourself and give everybody just a little background, a little history about who you are, what you do, where you're from, and stuff like that before we jump into this underwriting thing.
Yeah, sure. So George Roberts had a very, very long tech career before I went into multifamily. I was a biologist, worked in three fields, published in all three fields, some very heavily cited papers, went on to become a data scientist, but something missing from my life. I really and truly always did want to be the captain of my own ship, and tech didn't really give me the opportunity to do that. Entrepreneurship did, and I had a couple of opportunities to move into real estate. One was during the Great Recession, decided to move up and had the opportunity here to buy a new home back when homes were really, really cheap, but didn't really know what to do with the existing home. So I became a landlord. And from there, I decided that what if I could be a landlord, but this time do it at scale. So I discovered multifamily. And at that point, my real estate career really took off.
All right, fantastic. So let's get into this underwriting thing. Let's jump right into it. Now, I know everyone here, we have new people, we have seasoned people. So for all you seasoned underwriters, I'm gonna need you to have some patience, because we are going to start some of the questions that's going to be asked are basic questions. Okay, I already know that you know. But we also got to take into consideration the new investors who may not understand about underwriting. So let's get this thing fired off. So, George, let me ask you this because I want to get into just some of this underwriting and why it's so important. Um, when when you, what are some of the things that when you're looking at an underwrite, what are some of the things that you need or requesting from that broker or that direct seller? What are some of the things that you are requesting?
Well, I think first and foremost, what I want to do here, actually here, if you don't mind, let me just switch my screens because I
Yeah, go
can't see
ahead.
everybody
Yeah,
right now.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Let me see if I'm able to do this. Uh, oh, give me a second, if you don't mind.
Sure, sure.
I tried to share my screen, and now my big
Uh-oh.
screen is just my presentation. So I want to see everybody's face. That makes
Okay,
it a
great.
lot nicer to interact. Okay, great. So the idea for me is that I really want to know the story behind the
Okay.
underwriting. So I actually prepared a presentation. We can go into that a little bit later if you're ready or when you're ready.
Whenever you're
But
ready.
in the
Whenever you're
yeah,
ready.
in the meantime, I think that really you got to get the story. So why is the seller selling? Why does this deal make sense? And I think a lot of people they just kind of throw numbers at you or a giant OM. It's practically book length, and you really got to distill that down. Uh, People say numbers speak for themselves, but I don't think that they necessarily do. It's really up to you as the underwriter to be the storyteller of the deal. So I want to know, why is the seller selling? Why does this deal make sense? And why is this deal coming to me? Why am I the person to bring this forward? So one of the things you're going to need, obviously, if we're going to just take the most obvious, you're going to need your T12. You're going to need the financials. You're eventually going to need the bank statements, but that's going to come a bit down the road after you've already written your LOI and
Right.
probably, yeah,
Now,
exactly. So,
now,
but
George, hold
at
on
the
one second
outset,
now.
yeah, just tell me the story. Like get
Right,
me into it. Don't just
right,
say like, hey, this is a great deal. I think you can get
right,
17% IRR on that. That's
right.
nonsense.
Okay, so now, wait a minute, George. Now, you said something, and I don't know if everyone knows what it means. What is a T12?
Okay, so T12, that's the trailing 12 months of
Mhm.
income and expenses. And it's what you'd call a profit and loss statement or an income statement outside of our field. But a lot of our expenses tend to come monthly and we get paid every month. So it just makes a whole lot of sense to break it out on a monthly basis. So that's how we end up calling it a T12.
Got you, got you. So how do you analyze this T12?
Well, a couple of things that I'd like to do, and again, I
Go
got
ahead,
some. You mind if you mind if I
go ahead,
just
run away
what
with
if
it.
I do have some slides. You mind if I kind of launch into it, and then what we could do is, would it be cool if we kind of go between presentation and Q&A?
Sure, go right ahead.
All
Let's do
right,
it.
all right, cool. All right, so how about this? Let's see if I can do this. See if I can go a little bit out of order because you did ask some great questions, like how would you analyze a T12? Well, the first thing I would say is, hey, I have this example of what's fishy in this T12. Okay. And my initial answer is, I don't know. This is a jumble of numbers. What are some tricks that we can do that'll help us understand these numbers? Well, I like heat maps, something really easy to do with Excel. I take each row and I color it. You can either go from red low to blue high or vice versa, whatever you like. And then you're going to go look for numbers that stick out. So here's a few questions that I might ask about this T12. Okay, so the first is like, why are the utilities so low? Electricity is higher in the summer and gas is higher in the winter. Okay, anything strange there? The water sewer, it looks like it isn't paid certain months and it's very high in other months. And there's a huge general repair expense in September. Okay, so let's try to fill in the gap. Some of this might come from your broker. So start asking some questions, right? Uh, so here it turns out that the tenants pay the utilities. So the fact that the utilities are low, is this a cause of concern? No. What about the electricity and the gas pattern? Well, I'd say that's a normal HVAC pattern, right? It's driven by our seasons in the Northern Hemisphere. Water and sewer. Well, what's going on here? Are they hiding something from us? Probably not. I'm just guessing that the city read the meter in July and they got a little refund in November. But here, this is what really I find is a little fishy here, is there's a huge general repair expense in September. So particularly if you're getting things directly from the seller, okay? A broker is going to question this and say, hey, wait a second, was that CapEx? Hey, we got to put that below the line. But if you're looking at stuff coming directly from sellers, which I'd say is ideal, right? Anytime you can go direct to seller, that's a good thing. And you know what? They may not be sophisticated enough to tell you that. So I mean, don't let a good deal go by because it looks like the repairs and maintenance are too high. Start asking questions. And here's another thing. I got a little ahead earlier on. You said, Daryl, George, what are you going to ask for? Well, I may not get the bank statements until I'm in due diligence, but I want to start to feel out the broker and the seller early on. Because if I'm seeing crazy stuff like this, there's no way that I can verify this if I'm not going to get the bank statements. And particularly if you're dealing with smaller deals, mom and pop deals, these can be great deals. But you have some sellers that are reticent to show the bank statements. Oh, I just commingle everything. Well, if I'm seeing things like this, then that's going to be a really hard deal to go ahead with. I never like to go ahead without bank statements. I just give you one, and again, this is more due diligence. One example, like if someone says, "Look, I'm not going to give you the bank statements," well, can I walk around with you and collect the rent? I need to see how much money is coming in. I mean, at very minimum. So early on, if you find out that a seller isn't giving you the information that you're going to need to verify things, that might be a good time to sort of back away.
Got you. Got you. All right. All right. So I'm going to let you see you have your presentation. I'm going to let you take it from the top, and then after that, we're throwing some questions.
All right, good. And I wanted to keep this really short because I really do want to have some interaction, which I built in here. So yeah, so all you sleepers awake, because I want to ask you a few things throughout, and I want to hear your stories because I think that makes things a lot more exciting. So I'm entitling this presentation "Underwriting is Fun." Okay, I know, ha ha ha. I hope you're all smiling right now. But even if I can't convince you by the end of the presentation that underwriting is fun, so I'm going to hope that I can at least convince you that avoiding financial disaster is fun, or at least worth the effort. And in this world, there's no reason to expose yourself to any more pain or toil or difficulty than you have to be exposed to. And underwriting is really a great way to prevent that. So a foolish investor or a bad underwriter dies 1,000 deaths, but a wise underwriter but one. So let's go forth wisely. So my first question is sort of, what is underwriting? All right. So a lot of people think, hey, it's just like putting numbers in the spreadsheet. But why do we do this? Right? It's all about determining the risk and the price of a financial asset. And so, well, who is an underwriter? Well, if you're an investor, you are an underwriter. Now, I'll tell you the truth here, okay? Look, I am a numbers guy. That's where I came from. But underwriting really isn't what I do all the time. I tend to be much more of a connector of people. I understand numbers. So why am I talking to you today? The reason is that I believe that everybody should be an underwriter because everybody here is an investor. And if you are investing and you're not re-underwriting your deals, okay, that's like going into battle without the armor. So I would like to change the idea around the idea that, hey, what you do if you want to be successful is you just go find your superpower and then you stay in your lane. I would say that that's true in general. But when it comes to underwriting, we should all be underwriters, even if you're a passive investor, right? You get a deal. If you're not re-underwriting that deal, how do you know the quality of the numbers? It's not until I actually put it in the spreadsheet that I'm prompted to ask about every number. Where did this number come from? What's the provenance? How certain am I? It's always the same story with data. It's garbage in, garbage out. So the more work you do, the better life is going to be. All right. So underwriting, we all know that it takes time. And I think this is why a lot of people don't like underwriting. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about my philosophy of underwriting. It's not just how good you are at underwriting itself, but how good you are at narrowing down your deals. So let's say two people look at 300 OMs. So the person on the right is just going to ask the question, hey, is this in my buy box? Well, it should be in your buy box already, more or less. If you've trained your brokers properly, they already know what you're looking for, right? So most of those deals should be in your buy box. So I'm going to suggest that you go a little deeper and that you triage the vast majority of the deals. Get back to the broker and say, thank you, but no, this just doesn't meet my return metrics, or there's something about the neighborhood I don't like. Because the more you triage, the more time you have to focus on the deals that actually make sense. Okay, I apologize. There's a riot going on downstairs. Can you give me 1 second?
Sure. All right. So let's give him a second because he got a riot downstairs. I don't know.
Daryl, can you answer? I didn't understand. What is triage?
Oh, that's a triage is like when you go to the ER and they see how serious, like what's wrong with you. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? You sit there
Yeah.
in the emergency room, then they call you in
Okay.
the back. They take your blood pressure, temp, and all
Okay.
the rest of
That's
that.
I knew
Yeah, they do a
triage is
triage.
medical. So okay.
Yeah, that's the same thing. Triage. They're
Okay.
gonna, yeah.
Y'all throwing these terms around. I'm like,
Yeah. See, I'm glad you asked. Right?
All right, hey, sorry about that. My wife's doing her virtual reality workout downstairs, and it sounds like a rock concert in here. So my apologies. I'm back. Anyways, do you want to go to questions? Because hey, I don't want to like blast you with information. I want to hear what people
Well,
are
you know
thinking.
something? I like what you're doing. I'm gonna let you continue. I do have questions that I want to ask in reference to the T12 and analyzing it, which really you touched on analyzing it, capital expenditures, um, but I when you pointed out on the repair and maintenance, it was a big sum. I think it was like over $2,000 that was on that particular month. When you approach that broker in reference to that, I guess you could call it an outlier. How do you approach them about that? How do you pose the question to them, like say, hey, can you please explain to me, like, what is this 2,000 when in September that what happened here? How do you address that with them?
Yeah, well, I would say that it really starts with having a good relationship. If you don't have a good relationship with a broker, forget about it, right? So if you can't go to the broker and say, "Hey, what's the story behind this? Is this mainly capital expenditure? What happened that month? Did they replace a roof?" If they're not giving you good answers, then obviously that makes it hard for me to write the offer. And I love the way you said that earlier on, Daryl. You said if you don't really know how to value these assets, you're either going to spend way too much, you're going to get stuck with a dog, right? Or else you're going to underbid, and you're just not going to get the deal.
Right.
So if I don't have that sort of a relationship with that broker, or if it's direct to seller with the seller, where I can ask those questions, then that might be a point at which I might start looking at other deals instead.
Correct. Correct. I want you to move. Let's see if there are some questions. Let me just see if there's
Sure.
some questions. I have it for anyone. Let me see. Berta Ruiz, an assessment on how do I explain this number to someone that it was that a question, Berta? I don't know if you could talk or not, but you see you typing. Oh, oh, did did he answer that question? Because I did ask him, but did he answer that question for you?
She wants to know how it can be explained in like layman terms. How can she explain that to someone else that's not familiar with these terms?
Oh, that's what she's talking about. Okay, so I, I'll let I'll let George handle that. Go ahead, George. How can we explain that in layman terms? Let me
Okay,
see. I see
good. So
another.
I'd have to come up with a scenario to answer the question. So I imagine perhaps you have a new limited partner who is maybe not as skilled at looking at the numbers and wants to know like, hey, well, what's that number and what does it mean? Well, what I would say is that if that's who you're talking to, I would sort of move it below the line. If it's CapEx, then it doesn't belong above the line. It doesn't impact the NOI. And maybe these things and these terms sound really obvious to us, but I think there are a lot of mom and pop sellers out there that aren't really understanding either exactly how things are calculated or maybe not fully understanding the consequences of things. So, I mean, I know I'm always talking to my construction people, and I'm always asking the question, hey, this month, was that CapEx? When I'm going out and doing the accounting, particularly if I'm doing the accounting uh, for a financial institution, right? When I
Right.
do the accounting for a financial institution, a lot of times they're very open-minded when it comes to classifying things as CapEx. Like, is there any justification that this is CapEx? Like, for example, we just went from 13 to 14 units in one place, got a new cluster box. That's definitely CapEx because it increases our capabilities. It's not just simply restoring something. So I would just say you got to move that number below the line. And as long as it's valid, then pretty much that's your explanation. You're just going to show the operating expenses because that's really all that's relevant to the first level analysis. Unless people are asking deeper questions and saying, well, how much CapEx did the seller put in and what was it for? And when do you expect future major CapEx expenditures?
Gotcha. Gotcha. I want to ask one more question in reference to the T12. One thing I want to go back a little bit
Yeah.
up on that T12. I want to go to that part of the T12 where you have your vacancy, loss to lease, bad debt, concessions. I want to go to that part.
Okay,
Sometimes,
that's good. So you know what? I guess I could put up some. I what I wanted to take with me today was only the stuff that I had time to fictionalize.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Uh, okay, but I think that's a great question. Anyway, do you want to frame it further, or do you just want me to sort of dive in with some of the things you mentioned?
Well, if do you have a slide for that one?
I don't have anything particular for this.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I can,
So,
but I
so,
could speak to that easily. So yeah, okay. So what do you want to know, or you just want to
so
have me take it from the top?
okay, so in reference to the vacancy loss, let's the vacancy, and then underneath you got your bad debt, loss of lease concessions. When you're analyzing that, right? And now new investors, I want y'all to pay attention to this. When you're analyzing that T12 and you're looking across at that vacancy, and then you come down, you look at your loss of lease, bad debt, and concessions. What what in particular will make you go back to that broker and ask questions? Is there anything that will cause a red flag when you look at something like that?
Yeah, whenever somebody is projecting, say, less than 5% vacancy, physical
Mm.
vacancy, that is to say, or if they have no bad debt. I mean, is this a Class A property in an area that has 2% unemployment? How is that possible? But there are also some things that jump out at my eyes, like when I see 100% occupancy. That's also very interesting to me because I'd love it if somebody could tell me the last time that they saw an OM come to them where the rents were not under market, right? Isn't that always the case? Broker
Right.
says, hey, the rents are under market. But when I do see that you've got 100% occupancy, for example, and maybe you have a lot of heterogeneity in the rents, now I start looking, hey, these are all 1-1s, for example. When I get the rent roll, I do some pretty significant analysis. I'm going to dive in and I'm going to sort the columns. I want all the 1-1s together. And then if they differ in terms of size, then I'll sort on that as well. Do I see heterogeneity in the rents? And if I do, why? Is it because some people moved in years ago and the rent was never increased? See,
Right.
again, that's a sign of maybe a mom and pop seller, 100% occupancy, and you got some people that have been there for 5 or 7 years. Why wouldn't you stay if the landlord isn't raising the rent? Uh, Here's another thing you can do, and I know you were asking me more about the T12, and I'm going over to the rent roll, but I really do believe you got to kind of go in between the two a lot to get the full story.
Exactly.
Right.
What if you see the story that for the 1-1s that it's not a matter of how long they stayed, but you've got half the 1-1s are getting $300 more. Well, did you have partial renovations? And can you confirm to me that units 6, 11, and 15 are renovated units? Because if you could also find from looking at your rent roll, for example, that you have a validated business plan. Half the units are renovated, and current landlord is able to get another $300. Now we don't really have to worry as much about the comps because we've got a validated business plan. So, okay, I gave you rules of thumb. I said I'd be worried if they're projecting less than 5% vacancy. But what's the vacancy in the area? Do you have a CoStar report? And what does the CoStar report cover? Is it for all of Chicago, or are you talking about the South Side? What's your neighborhood, and how does that compare to the general situation? So, what vacancy do you expect given the vintage of your property, its desirability, its neighborhood, as well as what you know about the market in general?
That is,
So,
man. Whoa,
Daryl,
that is so beautiful. Beautiful.
Daryl,
Alicia,
we have two people,
yeah,
Mike.
that's what Grace say.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta get Mike and Mr. Parham.
Yeah.
Mike, go ahead with your question.
Yeah. In reference to that 25,000 for general repairs, isn't it kind of okay I'm going to call it at first pass, that it is higher than expected? Because we can move it later on below the line to normalize it, but doesn't it make it look like then we're paying a lower price because the expenses are technically higher?
Oh, yes, got it. But again, I would say there's different ways to price apartments. So I would say like the textbook way is that you're going to base it on the NOI and the cap rate. Okay, sure, makes sense. But what if you have something that it has low occupancy, or you're dealing with somebody who might be a little bit less sophisticated? There are many reasons why you might then have to go by per unit or something else, or sometimes you're just dealing with a seller. They just have an idea of what it's worth, and it might be well less than what it's actually worth. But yeah, 100%. This is not really a problem. But the reason that I point this out is that I think some people, at least on their first pass, might just take the totals column on the right, which I omitted, and put that into their spreadsheets. And that what I'm saying is that if you don't do these sorts of analyses, if you're going direct to seller, again, if you're getting it from a broker, this is going to be all cleaned up for you. Probably a little too sanitized, if you know what I mean. But you really want to go and do this yourself, because sometimes the seller isn't making the best case for their property. Usually it's the other way around. But you really got to, I think, just you really got to dig in, because if you don't find the full story behind the numbers, and you're just kind of being mechanical about it, I'm not saying that's what you or anyone here would do, but really speaking a lot to the newer people, because there are always a lot more newer folks in any room than experienced.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Parham,
Good morning, everybody.
good morning.
George, you mentioned earlier that you're a numbers guy. I'm currently active duty military, so I'm a process guy. You mentioned needing to get the bank statements from the seller. So you also mentioned you showed a graphic where you would triage or deep dive deals to see which ones are actionable. So after you found an actionable deal, yeah, you should have already looked at and analyzed the T12 rent roll. You talked about due diligence. So like after you said, okay, this is a solid deal, I want to move forward. What does that process next look like? Like because I don't understand where we're fitting in these bank statements in the due diligence and like what order of precedence is taking place. Like I said, I'm a process guy. Like break that thing down to me to nuance, please.
Okay, yeah. So usually how it goes is if you like what you're seeing in the T12, the rent roll, and your initial conversations, you're going to write an LOI. If the seller likes the LOI, then you're going to sign a purchase and sale agreement. It sounds very final, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
usually the PSA is going to have your due diligence period. Hopefully your money that you put down, the earnest money deposit, isn't going to go hard, or that is to say that it's not going to become unrecoverable for, say, 30 days. That'll give you time to look at the bank statements and do the other financial due diligence. And well, I didn't want to talk too much about due diligence today, but make sure that you write in that due diligence doesn't begin until you receive all of the financials. Because until you do the financials, you're not going to go out there and actually look at it. Until you look at it, you're definitely not going to allow that EMD to go hard. So that if you don't get the financials within 3 days, that for each day that you're extended by a day. But so then you're going to go through, look at the financials. You're going to want to make sure, get out to the property. And when you do, you really only have one chance to walk every unit. Make sure that you have an agreement that you get to walk every unit. And also make sure that you have your entire crew with you. So usually that would mean a building inspector, and you probably want to scope out the sewer lines, from the building all the way out to the street, because that's what you're responsible for. Yeah, make sure they all come out with you, and make sure it's clear to the seller and in your PSA that you need to see every unit, and that if you don't, that your due diligence period is going to be extended. So after you go through all that, then yeah, you're going to be in the final stage, which if you're a syndicator, is going to be the capital raising phase. So you probably have, say, 30 days to close. You may have extensions, etc. And then boom, you're the proud owner of a new apartment. Anyway, anything you want me to kind of fill in there?
So
Nope,
we
nope, not. I
you,
want to stick to underwriting. I don't want to get into due
Yes, yeah,
diligence.
yeah.
I
Let's
don't want to
please
get
not
into all
talk
of
too
that.
much about due
Yeah,
diligence.
yeah.
Uh,
I want to stick to the underwriting because believe it or not, you don't make it through the underwrite, you ain't getting the property. So so
Absolutely.
the underwriting is the most important thing, right?
You have another
So
question,
yeah,
Darren.
Miss Sapphire, go right ahead. Uh-oh.
Good
Miss
evening.
okay, there you go.
Good morning. George, you mentioned a CoStar report. Can you explain to me what that is
Or
and where
so
do
CoStar is a data company, and they're great to have on your side. Very expensive to get their reports. I could pick one up. Let me just see. Oh, I'm only sharing one screen, I think, so I could put one up. But the main idea is they go really deep. They're actually going to look at comps. Oh, here, first of all, they get multiple reports. You got underwriting reports. If you give the address to your broker, either it could be a loan broker, it could be your real estate broker, and ask for a CoStar report. If you got a good relationship with them, highly likely that you'll get it. If you ask for the underwriting report, that'll really help you because it'll give you some good comps. And actually, let me give you a little slide on this if I can find it. What does this look like? Okay, I would say that one of the most important things with underwriting is to make sure that your comps are right. And a lot of people, I see this 1,000 times. What they put in the slide deck and what they put in their underwriting are the comps that come from the OM. And the offering memorandum usually has 5 comps. And I observed that 3 of them are way better than the subject property and 2 are a little bit better. So here's a couple of things. This is from a CoStar underwriting report. This is the subject property, and this is one of the comps. They seem reasonably comparable, okay? You got maybe a slightly busier road here and maybe some nicer landscaping, but you have two sort of box-shaped apartments, both in Miami, okay? This is from an OM, okay? You have, look, this apartment is completely vacant. This is the parking lot right here. You got a contractor and a porta potty. Around the corner, you got a liquor store, and it looks bad. The walls are dirty. This is a really bad apartment, and look who they're giving you as your comps, right? So CoStar is really nice because it'll tell you a lot of things, including it'll help you sanity check your cap rate. Okay, you should know the cap rate. Like if you're asking the broker what's the cap rate, well, they're going to tell you what you need to hear, so you'll want to buy the deal. You should know the cap rate, but it'll help you to verify that what you think is true. It'll also help you to compare neighborhoods and areas, so you'll understand, is this one of the better or one of the less desirable neighborhoods? That's if you get a market report. And again, you'll get great comps if you get an underwriting report. But anyway, this is my joke. I was going to ask you guys, which set of comps do you think came from the OM? Well, this is what you get when in the OM. You have a subject property that looks like this, and what you're getting from the OM is comps look like a castle.
You know something? I was looking at I was looking at some comps in the OM, and in my coaching program, I always tell my students, one, don't cross highways, major interstates, don't cross large waterways, be very careful about crossing railroad tracks. There are certain things that you should never cross over, right? And I'm gonna tell you right now, there are going to be times where you're going to look at the broker's OM, and your property is going to be on the left side of the Sam Houston Parkway, and then he's going to go 1 mile on the other side of Sam Houston Parkway to grab a property. I'm gonna tell you right now, don't use that property that's 1 mile on the other side of Sam Houston Parkway. That's not even in the same zip code. Be careful.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I'll give you a great example of that. I bought first in Orlando. I know the market really well. You got I-4 dividing the city in half. On one side, you've got the DeVos Stadium. On the other side, you've got Paramore. Now, I went there in 2020, and there's a homeless shelter in Paramore. I feel like you can almost see the stadium from there. I mean, it's night and day on the other side of the highway. It's nuts. I went back there 6 months later, and things looked totally different. I didn't see homeless people all over the place. I saw things looked a little cleaned up. I saw people were taking care of their property, some repositioning going on in the marketplace, but it was still night and day. It was just a better night compared to the day. Yeah. It's funny. I had to laugh when you said the other side of the tracks, because that old saying or that common sense. Yeah, we're here to talk about numbers, but let's not forget common sense. Being on the other side of the tracks can be significant.
Correct. Absolutely. George, Ignacio asked a question. He said, what is a good source to get an up-to-date cap rate? A lot of us cannot afford. I'm with KW. A lot of brokers are here with KW. I have CoStar. You have CoStar. A lot of us have CoStar. That's brokers, but a lot of people that's not in our realm of being a real estate commercial broker or whatever, they don't have access to that. So is there something that they can use? Is there something that they can use to find a market cap or a neighborhood cap or a city cap? Is there something else that they could use?
Yeah, you can take a look at the transactions that have actually been consummated. So depending on the size, you might get some from Zillow if you're looking at really small properties, like 2s and 4s. If you're looking at larger things, then you're going to have to go to public records might be helpful to you. But I would say don't rule out the CoStar, because again, if the banker takes you seriously, they want the deal. If they can supply you with one report, they'll do it. Do you know a broker? Like I know somebody who's he's close with a broker. He'll say like I'll give you one for a couple $100. It's a lot of money, but it's a lot cheaper than doing a bad deal. The other thing you do is just become friends with somebody who's working your market. You've got a friend and maybe a potential business partner. I mean, somebody's got to know the market really well. So if it's not you, build a team, and that other team member, whether it's more of a consultant or what, they should be able to tell you and help you and sanity check your belief that this is or isn't a good cap rate.
Fantastic. I want to come back to the rent roll, because I believe that the rent roll is a very important document. And Sonia did say the broker will give you a CoStar report too. And I will say yes, that they will. Now, if you really want a good CoStar report, that broker may charge you. And now, what do I mean by that? And then I'm gonna get into the rent roll question right quick, because um, I could run a underwriting report real fast. All I gotta do is put the address in, hit boom, underwriting report, CoStar, print out the underwriting report. But that if you look at that underwriting report, you're gonna find a lot of errors. You're gonna be like, yo, Daryl just threw me up some stuff, right?
Yeah.
What you need to ask your broker is for a customized underwriting report, and ask him specifically to make sure that the comparatives are similar in nature to that subject property. And believe it or not, he could pull it, he could do just that. Now I'm gonna tell you that it does take time to do a customized underwriting report for you to do your underwriting. So I'm making that I just want to say that because if he says to you or she says to you, there's going to be a fee to that, you say, oh, okay, I understand. Because that's going to take up their time to do a customized underwriting report for you. Okay. So I just wanted to say that in reference to that. But in reference to the rent roll, a lot of times I look at the rent roll and I see, of course you're going to see vacant, 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 vacant. If they're vacant, it'll be vacant, 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 vacant. But then you're going to also see sometimes NTV, 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 NTV. Now, NTV means notice to vacate, everyone, just in case for those who don't know. You're saying, what the heck is NTV? NTV means notice to vacate. So let's just say, George, you see 7 vacancies, but then you look on your rent roll and you're looking at like 7, 8, 9 NTVs. How do you treat those NTVs?
Well, again, I would say, like, what's the story? People say numbers speak for themselves, but they really don't. They need us to come find the story, the narrative behind them. So, what's going on? Sometimes you have a seller who is renovating. So you might, non-renew or have notice to vacate to people, they're coming up, their lease is due, and sorry, I'm not going to renew with you because I'm renovating. Is there not a story like that? I mean, we see what stories I can tell without getting in trouble. Gosh, a hoarder, okay? He can't even get to his bathroom, so he was going outside. That guy's getting an NTV. So, there's no, actually, I'm sorry, that's different. That's a different situation. He's going to get 7 days to cure. I know it's going to be a rough 7 days for his neighbors. They really don't like this guy. And it's causing like roach infestation. Doesn't matter if you spray. I mean, if you've got an infestation, your neighbor has an infestation, you live in an apartment, you've got problems. Even if you're decently clean. So sorry, that's a different story. Usually somebody like that's breaking the lease, and you would just give them 7 days to cure. But like, what's the story? I mean, I would just ask the question again. And I'm sorry, like I didn't want to get into the due diligence, but the reason why I said that is if I get an inkling that I'm not going to get the due diligence information I want, then I'm done. If the broker doesn't want to answer my questions, then for whatever reason, we don't have the relationship. You know, that might be one to just triage. I'm not going to get the story on this, move on. So ask, like, what's behind it?
Right. Now, if you don't get if the broker or the seller doesn't give you the answer, right? Will you count that NTV right along with those vacancies?
Yeah, I think you have to. So you have to make the worst case scenario assumption if you can't make the if you can't get the information, and there would have to be something that clearly counterbalances it. Like maybe you're going to come
Right.
in and you're going to renovate everything, so you don't really care. I mean, maybe you have a little bit of a problem on your hand with evictions, and maybe you have to budget for that. But if your plan is to just get rid of everybody because you're going to turn the entire place, both physically as well as the tenant base, uh, you might weigh that more or less on that basis.
Gotcha. 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 Are there any questions? Are there any questions that because this was fantastic, you know, because underwriting, I'm gonna tell you right now, everyone, I think this is one of the most important things. You have to know how to underwrite. Now, if you let's say let's say you're not an active, you're not a GP, which is general partner, but you're a limited partner, right? You should at least know the basic foundation when it comes to underwriting. If you're putting your money into that deal, you should at least know the basic foundation of underwriting. The income expense equals NOI, right? Ask questions, right? Ask questions. Okay. Um, let me let Linda, go ahead and ask your question.
All right, thank you. Thank you for today. It was a great meeting. I just had a very quick question for George. And I'm familiar with his criterias, but when it comes to triage, what would you say are your top three things that you're just gonna look at? Hey, right away, if those three things are not there, I'm not even gonna look at it. Like, let's say, for example, age of the property or number of units or something like that.
Oh
Excellent.
yeah, I
That's an
love it.
excellent question.
Because
Wow.
Linda does know my criteria, and let me see if I can get it. So the first thing I would do is yes, age of the property, vintage, number one. I got a deal yesterday. It said it was built in 1892. So I went, I looked at another site because I'm thinking, was this 1982? No, they all say 1892. And I said to this guy, look, I like the numbers, but I don't have any idea what goes wrong with a 19th century property. Okay. I've never owned anything older than 1950. So yeah, vintage. How much trouble are you willing to put up with? I mean, if you're newer and you're full of energy in your 20s and you don't care, you'll deal with it. I mean, you better budget for it. That's part of the underwriting. But go ahead. But you might get to a point in your career where I'm not going to deal with anything that's less than 1970. My friend who I respect and did a lot of deals with recently told me now he's not doing anything that's any older than 1980. So the second thing I would do is the demographic research. So Google the city name population. Is it going up? Go to city data. What's the unemployment, the home, the income and the income trend, the home values and price trend, the crime, poverty, and does it look like you're in the path of progress? So I won't read all these because I know that we're getting close to the end. What I'm going to say is that if you want to know more about this, go to Udemy, and it's called Real Focus. This is Neil Bauer's course. He'll show you how he goes through it. These are the sort of things that everybody who's a real estate investor looks at, but he's looked at them in more detail. He's built his own models, and he has some deeper insights. 40-minute course. It'll change how you look at real estate. And then the third question is the gut check. So you can ask the question, hey, is it a nice neighborhood? Well, that's subjective. Like, are you comfortable there? If it's close by, or if you know somebody, have them drive by at night. Have them drive by on Saturday nights. Do you see a whole bunch of characters hanging out on the corner? things are going to look different Friday, Saturday night than they look, Thursday afternoon. So again, it's a subjective thing, but if you're not comfortable there, then you're not going to be comfortable supervising the workers. You're not going to be happy as the owner.
Exactly. George, you had something posted up there. I'm gonna tell you right now. When I first got into underwriting, when I first got into real estate, I'm gonna say real estate, not underwriting. When I first got into real estate, commercial real estate, everyone, I was totally lost. I was all over the freaking place, man. I was in, I was in, I was in every single state. I'm telling you that right now. I was in every single state looking for properties. And my coach said to me, he said, as long as you keep jumping around from market to market to market to market, he said, you're never going to get a deal. He said, because this is about building a relationship. And the thing that George had posted up there was the real focus. I took that course because the reason why the reason why I do this, the commercial multifamily mastermind, when I started, I wasn't getting any help. I would ask people, I would ask investors, hey, how did you find your market? What was that made you what made you invest here? All I got was a runaround question, a runaround answer. Oh yeah, I just look for population growth. I just look for this. I just look. Okay, but what in particular are you looking for? And I would, just as long as I'm like, what? So, and my background, funny thing, George mentioned triage, right? My background, I'm a pediatric burn nurse, right? So when it comes to numbers, I know I know when your blood pressure high. I know when your blood sugar's high. I know when certain things are wrong because I could triage you. I'm using that term triage, right? I could triage you, but I wasn't able to triage my investments, my commercial multifamily market. I wasn't able to triage it. I took that course by Neil Bauer. That opened up a whole new world. I'm telling you right
Daryl,
now.
can I jump in there? I want to tell you a
Go
similar
ahead.
story. We did the same thing. We were looking at multiple markets. And then we took the course, my group, and we narrowed it down. We decided that we liked, let me see if I got another one. Oh yeah, here, let me just put it back up. We decided that we liked Orlando. So why? Why do we like Orlando? Well, we had an apartment that was surrounded by other apartments that were, nicer than ours. They'd all been repositioned. Orlando was growing like crazy, but I'm sorry, let me get back to the real focus. At that time, I-4 corridor in Florida was just literally, by his criteria, the best place to buy. And we bought in 2020. And sure enough, for his reasons, as well as some others that I just mentioned, it turned out that we had extraordinary tailwinds behind us. And in 2021, in 2022, we saw extraordinary growth in our value because we bought in the right place and in the right time. But more to the point, if we hadn't narrowed it down to a single market, we wouldn't have bought at all.
That's right. That's right. That's fantastic. Listen, George, if people want to get in, go ahead, Alicia.
So George said something that I didn't want to kind of gloss over when you said, make sure that you have boots on the ground and see if there's a lot of characters out there. I like how you said characters. So I'm going to take that when I talk to people. But many people don't correlate that to underwriting, right? It doesn't mean that you walk away from the property because those characters are there. Can you share how that affects your underwriting?
Well, yes. I would say that these rougher properties, older vintage, lower property class, they underwrite better at first blush. Why? Because you get a higher cap rate. why do you have a higher cap rate? It's because you've got more danger, and the area could be turning, right? For the worse. But yeah, again, to me, it's just all about getting the story. When you see somebody come to me with a deal, they say things like, "Oh, we're projecting 70% IRR and 8% cash on cash, and we're going to give you a 10% preferred return, and there'll be a catch up at the end." Well, it's like, wait a second, what are you talking about? I don't want to hear about your IRR. I have no idea. You haven't even shown me a picture of the property. So yeah, I think you really got to get the narrative of the property and understand what it is. I mean, is this an okay asset at an extraordinary price? Is it a good asset at a great price? Each one of these scenarios has a different series of underwriting steps that I would go through, because I got to understand, how much am I going to put into the property? And like, for example, like maybe you're right next to the bus station. Well, but if you're not going to do a whole lot of renovation and you look at it as a cash flowing property, that's good, because how are your tenants going to get around? They don't have cars. So it's good that you're right next to the bus stop. But if you think you're going to turn it into a Class A property and add a pool, I mean, I'm joking here. Everybody knows. Then, whoa, maybe that's not exactly the thing that you want to do in that area. So yeah, I mean, it's all just really a matter of what makes sense given what you have to work with.
Thank you. Everyone, listen. I had a ton of questions, but I would like for you to email me questions that you would like to hear, or excuse me, questions that you would like asked of the hosts when they come, right? Because we're going. This is my platform. We're going to be doing underwriting with some of the guest speakers when they come. They may be underwriting. They may be wanting to share that. So I would like to add your questions to my questions, and I have a ton of questions. But I would like to add your questions to my questions, see if some of your questions I already have, right? But at this time, I would like to thank George for coming and for being a part of the commercial multifamily masterminds. The information you gave out was priceless. It was truly priceless. And I thank you. George, can people get in contact with you? I mean, is it all right for people to reach out to you?
You have a lot of
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's different ways you can reach out to me. I mean, I would say like LinkedIn is a great way. If you want to know more about, so I do a lot of data analysis. You want to hear more about data. You'd like to hear about housing data, macroeconomics. I've got some YouTube if you get some time to scan that. If not, just reach out to me through LinkedIn, or you can send me a message at george@robertscapitalenterprises.com. Or if you just want to get together and meet me and some great people. I see Linda Holtz here. She's one of the people who shows up. One of my regulars, I love my regulars. Every Wednesday, we do this for free. We just get together and we make deals happen, meet other like-minded people, make friends, do deals, become wealthy. That's the 3-step plan. So
well, George, I'm gonna start. Listen, I know I haven't been to your meeting in a while, man, and I know I haven't been in a while. I got to start getting myself back to your meetings, and everything. So you will start seeing me there. All right.
All right.
Because I don't think your time on Wednesday conflict with the capital raise strategy session time. So because we also have the capital raise strategy session at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So I don't think your time conflicts with that. So I'm definitely going to start coming to your meetings, because your meetings are valuable. They're very good. And I would encourage each and every one of you, if you haven't been to George's meetings, please go. Please check them out. All right. Also, I want to just say, listen, again, I take underwriting very seriously. I do coach. I do coaching for underwriting. Underwriting is just the main the main gist of my coaching program. you are going to have to, you are going to go through the basics, of course, the basic foundation with me. But just to let everyone know, yes, if you want to really get deep into underwriting, you can reach out to me. I do coaching and stuff like that, and so forth. So I just want to just put that out. But listen, I want to say thank you, George, for coming. And listen, everyone.
Daryl,
Yes, yes.
can George put the link in the day and time of his meetings in the chat?
He can. He can. George, yeah, put that in there. Thank you, Stephanie.
And George, can you put the QR code back up for your YouTube channel?
Sure thing. Okay, yeah, I'll paste all my stuff in there. So
Yeah,
I
put
guess
that all in there.
I was being overly modest. Let me put my stuff up.
Thank you, Linda, for coming.
Thank you.
You'll see why I'm smiling when I put it up there. I got like 50 links, 50 ways that you can contact me. All right, here we go. Oops. All right. Oh, look at this. Oh, I see what happened. Is it? Okay, it looks like I lost control of my mouse for a second. It's submarining. So that means that I can't actually do that. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, you ever get that moment when your mouse submarines? Well, I'll send it out to you if I can't get it in there.
And everybody reach out to George on LinkedIn and put in the message you were on the commercial multifamily mastermind. Because I don't know, now I'm not speaking for George, but I know when I get a lot of people requesting to connect, I always look to see, like, do we know each other? And if I don't really know them, sometimes I'll go past them and come back maybe a week or two later. I'm only joking. A day or two later, but not a
All right,
week or
boom.
two.
I just had to get out of the presentation. That's usually what it is. I was in presentation mode. Mouse is submarining. But there it is, GeorgiaRobertsCapitalEnterprises.com. If you have any questions, yes, follow me, YouTube, come to my meetings. I see Harita, another one of my favorite people. I can only see a few of you. It's just giving me like a random sample of 5 or 6, but I love to see all you. And I just want to thank Daryl and the entire group. My heart is warmed by Daryl, Jim Biggs, the entire group. This is just an amazing group of people. And my heart is truly warmed, Daryl, by the way that you go and reach out, you educate people, you bring them into the fold, and you arm them with knowledge so that they can go forward with confidence. So it's great to know you, and it's great to be a part of this group.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, and it's a pleasure that you're here. I love it, man. And believe me, I'm going to start coming to your meeting. So thank you very much, and everyone. Now you know what I do, right? You know what I do, right? We cut the mic off for another 15 minutes, and this way, if you want to, if you want to get to know me better, you can ask questions. You can ask me whatever you want. It doesn't matter. There's no limitations, none whatsoever. I take at least till 12:30. You can ask me anything you want. Doesn't matter. But we're going to cut we cut the recording off, and we just free flow, okay, for the next 15 minutes. And the reason why I do this, you see everyone here? You need to get to know these people. You need to get to know who they are. Because when you get your investment property, if you're reaching out, you're going to reach out to these people right here. And if they don't know you, you ain't getting no money. Okay? So get to know each other. That's the reason why I do this. I'm going to hang around for 15 more minutes. We're going to cut the mic off. You can ask me whatever you want. I'm an open book. All right? All right? So, George, if you can hang around, please do. If you have to go, I understand. But I'm going to stick around for another...
You got it, my friend. I'm yours.
All right. I'm going to stick around for another 15 minutes. We're going to cut the mic off. I want to thank everyone for coming. Our next meeting is on February 20th. Same time, same bat channel, right here. February 20th, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. See you then. Thank you, everyone.